Have you ever wondered about the health benefits of fasting? Join me as we uncover the true healing power of water fasting. Fasting, whether it is intermittent fasting or longer periods of fasting, is a true miracle, which every one of us, no matter what shape we are in, should absolutely harness for burning surface and visceral fat, reducing inflammation, boosting immunity, repairing our brain, creating new neural pathways, preventing and reversing major diseases, and increasing our lifespan and quality of life. It is the very recent changes in our standard of diet, which involves eating 3 to 6 meals and snacks per day while sitting at a desk in front of a computer device, which is not normal. This has become clearly evident with the explosion of dysfunctions, diseases, and early deaths plaguing our modern culture. When we train our brain and body to expect 3 to 6 meals and snacks per day, our brain releases specific sets of powerful neuromessengers, which literally tells our body to be inefficient and lazy with how we utilize this surplus of resources we are hoarding. Our digestive system, as well as our cardiovascular, nervous, neurological, and hormonal systems are never allowed even one moment to rest, heal, and regenerate. The latest science is showing that sugar, which is rampant in our modern diets, is the very source of fuel for cancer. The latest science shows that when we cut off sugar and shut down glucose metabolism during intermittent and long-term fasting, the cancer is literally starved of its fuel source. Water fasting for at least 48 hours has also been shown to effectively protect, enhance, and strengthen our immune system during chemotherapy, greatly increasing our chances of survival. Water fasting is an invaluable tool we can use to shape, mold, and chisel the body of our dreams, effectively burn surface and visceral fat, prevent and reverse major diseases, cleanse ourselves of our dependence on pharmaceutical drugs, and live longer, healthier lives. All we need to do is remove the walls of mystery and the barriers of myths we have erected around ourselves, which is blocking this powerful healing light from entering into every cell of our body. We must reach deep within to find the courage and discipline our culture is utterly lacking today. We must once and for all let go of the fears which are binding us, the myths and misconceptions which are limiting us, the peer pressure from friends, family, culture, and corporations which are paralyzing us from the true freedom, growth, and joy we are all meant to embody in our lives. We can harness this ancient and invaluable tool of fasting and format it seamlessly into where we currently are in our health goals. Exercise during fasting synergistically increases the enormous benefits of water fasting because exercise activates similar neurochemistry. Intermittent fasting is a perfectly healthy, long-term maintenance schedule and an extremely sustainable format for us to burn fat, maintain that level, prevent dysfunction and disease, and increase the quality and longevity of our lives. The greater the number of hours we fast, the greater the levels of life-giving and life-saving elixirs we receive. The science shows that the most effective time to start fasting is when we sleep. The fast begins after dinner. This is measured in hours. For example, let us say we eat dinner at 7 p.m. When we sleep, we are already fasting. This is where our body is finally able to rest and regenerate. The science shows that during deep sleep, our brain releases hormones and proteins needed for healing, recovery, and cellular regeneration throughout our entire body and brain, including our metabolism. During deep sleep, we also repair and grow muscles, reduce inflammation, swelling, and pain, and relieve stress. God has given us sleep to purify, cleanse, and heal our body, mind, and soul, as well as to show us how we can harness and transmute the power of healing and regeneration, which we experience during sleep, into our daily waking lives. Breakfast literally means the meal which breaks our fast, and can be any time of the day we decide to break our fast. We are given a golden opportunity to build on the 12 hours of fasting we experience before we normally eat the next morning. Many times we are not even hungry, yet we load ourselves up with sugar and carbs for breakfast through our conditioning and habituation. This is the worst thing we can possibly do to break our nightly fast. We have been brainwashed to think we need to eat breakfast for energy. By the way, who exactly has taught us this? And where is the science to support this myth? Who has such a deep concern and vested interest in us to keep us constantly fed to the gills? I contend that the real source of this myth emanates from the vested interests of the food industry, who directly profit from our overconsumption, as well as Western mainstream medicine and the pharmaceutical industry, who also directly profit from the modern plague of endless imbalances, illnesses, dysfunctions, and diseases which arise from the Western mainstream diet. The moment we regain our health and power is the moment they lose all their immense profits. If they truly had deep concern for us and placed actual healing as their primary objective, they would provide us with the real tools and behaviors to evoke massive healing and positive transformation in our lives. They would wholeheartedly dedicate entire divisions of counselors and legions of coaches to retrain and rewire us with life-protective and life-promoting healthy diet and exercise behaviors. Instead, they remain eerily passive and deafeningly silent when it comes to the true underlying causes of illness, dysfunction, and disease. Meanwhile, they vocally undermine and aggressively attack holistic healing modalities and behaviors, which hold the true power to prevent, reverse, and heal diseases. This is because the maximum consumption of processed and synthetic corporate foods, drugs, and surgeries are the true financial motives and interests of the current food and medical industrial complex. When we really peer deeply into the matrix, we realize that we are being farmed, we are being raised, and we are being fattened for the slaughter on the altar of reckless corporate idolatry and greed. Breakfast was initially a marketing idea invented in the early 1900s by the food corporation Kellogg's to sell more of their cereal. The bread, meat, dairy, and egg industries followed closely behind Kellogg's with their own marketing tactics for increasing consumption of their products. Historically, ancient Romans, Native Americans, and other cultures believed that eating more than one meal per day was unhealthy, a luxury, and even a sin. They also fasted for longer periods during religious and spiritual observances. In fact, fasting is an integral part of almost every religion and spiritual path in the world. Scientific studies show the marked positive influence of fasting, meal frequency, timing, and food quality on our health. The truth is that we already have plenty of resources built up and set aside to sustain us without eating breakfast in the morning, especially with a nutrient-dense diet which truly nourishes and feeds the needs of our body. I like to say that we spend half of our day eating and the other half eliminating what we eat. In intermittent fasting, we measure the format in hours of eating and hours of fasting. For example, it could be the 18-6 method or the 19-5 method. This simply means that we fast for 18 or 19 hours and we eat during a window of 6 or 5 hours respectively. You can select and improve upon the method which specifically works for you, depending on the degree of fat burning, disease prevention, and regenerative healing you desire. Now you are in full control of how you look and feel. When we fast beyond 24 hours, we measure the fasting format in whole hour increments, such as 24, 36, 48, or 72 hours and beyond. Any fast beyond 5 days should be supervised by a clinic, such as True North and other water fasting, regenerative healing clinics. For intermittent fasting, or IF, I recommend starting low and building up slowly over time as you get familiar with it. Consistency and sustainability is the key. For example, you can start simply by skipping your morning meal and break your fast at noon. If you have your last meal at 7 p.m. the previous night, this will automatically place you in 17 hours of fasting and a 7-hour feeding window. The science shows that eating a large meal in the evening close to sleep time increases surface and visceral fat levels, as well as reduces sleep quality. For this reason, I recommend eating a large meal when you break your fast in the afternoon, and a smaller meal in the evening, which is easier to assimilate before bed. For myself, I have found a fresh smoothie or soup alone for dinner greatly increases my sleep quality. I personally have built up to the 19-5 method of intermittent fasting. I fast for 19 hours and I eat during a 5-hour window each day. In fact, I have not eaten before 2 p.m. for 3 straight years, every single day. The fascinating fact I have noticed is that I am often still eliminating what I previously ate 19 hours later. What this means is that when we eat every 12 hours, we are compiling and compounding waste, glucose, and fat within our body. Leaky gut syndrome affects 80 to 90% of Americans today. Leaky gut syndrome is a condition in which undigested food molecules, toxins, and pathogens are able to pass through the tight junctions in our cellular lining of our intestinal walls and into the bloodstream. This can lead to inflammation, including chronic brain inflammation, autoimmune diseases, irritable bowel syndrome, inflammatory bowel disease, food sensitivity and intolerance, excessive fatigue, cravings for sugars and carbs, hormonal imbalance, and death. Leaky gut syndrome, as with almost every imbalanced syndrome, dysfunction, and disease, is the result of what we eat, how much we eat, and how often we eat. When will we recognize the immense suffering we unnecessarily endure to enable and perpetuate our unhealthy dietary habits, preferences, indulgences, and behaviors? Oh, the pain, the sorrow, and disempowerment we inflict upon ourselves for the brief flash of ephemeral pleasure, comfort, and familiarity. How long will our fears and myths circulate and perpetuate, heaping and compiling diseases, comorbidities, and deaths at appalling rates while we simply stand aside and look? The real danger does not lie in fasting, but in our ceaseless and incessant consumption of refined flours, sugar, processed, synthetic, and animal-based foods day after day, without any reprieve for our digestion and any chance for our body to heal us from within. The real question we should be asking ourselves is, how dangerous is it to eat every waking hour without ever fasting? The science is clear that perpetual eating poses the real danger to our health. It is fasting which brings us true freedom, lightness, blood flow, energy, mobility, healing, and power. I employ an intense physical fitness program every morning, alternating between upper and lower body days, utilizing weight resistance and calisthenics. Additionally, I include 6 minutes of resistance aerobic leg exercises every day on the Stairmaster, as well as walking, hiking, or dancing. I also walk 2 to 3 miles a day during irrigation on my organic farm. I push myself hard in my fitness program every single morning, all while fasting on nothing but pure life-giving water. This potent combination of cellular stress and energy depletion is absolutely safe and normal for our bodies. We were not given teacups for bodies. Our bodies were meant to move, flow, and engage at optimal levels every single day. If humans were unable to work, hunt, and exercise while fasting, we would never have survived to modern times. This myth, misconception, fear, and peer pressure regarding fasting and exercising at the same time blocks us from true freedom, balance, health, satisfaction, and joy in life. This is why I always say that the first step in regaining your true health, power, and essence requires you to let go of all the myths, misconceptions, fears, and peer pressure from friends, family, society, and especially corporations. If you are not open to change, it is impossible for you to realize massive positive transformation in your life. Take it from me, I have never felt better in my life than I have through making some relatively small sacrifices. The true pathway to freedom, satisfaction, joy, health, and empowerment is through letting go, sacrifice, discipline, determination, courage, and an open mind to inspiration. The fascinating thing is, once we open ourselves up to new healthy habits, our neural pathways adapt and mold to our new healthy behaviors. What we initially see as a sacrifice, as inconvenient, awkward, and uncomfortable, becomes true comfort, ease, and pleasure. What we initially build up with so much imaginary fear becomes absolutely harmless, a normal, integral part of our lives, and a priceless, beautiful gift. From this day forward, every decision you make in your life should always be the best decision for you, your best interest, your health, and your empowerment. Anything less is simply a rationalization, a justification, and an excuse. Anything less is simply the weakening, the dissemination, and the transfer of your power to an outside source. The science shows us that there are no measurable benefits to feeding for 12 hours or longer per day. When we fast for less than 12 hours every day, which is the common practice today, our body remains trapped in a perpetual state of glucose metabolism. Our baseline markers never even have the chance to positively transform and heal us. The ceaseless supply of carbohydrates and sugars common in the refined flour, high sugar diets we consume today triggers our brain to release the nutrient sensor insulin, which helps blood sugar to get out of the cells so that our body can use it. Insulin is a neural messenger released during the well-fed state of anabolism, or the state of building up, which tells our cells to grow, divide, synthesize, and store fat for leaner times ahead. In the chronically well-fed state we find ourselves in today, our body and brain becomes lazy and inefficient with the overabundance of resources it chooses to use within our body. Thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to watch the next videos.